here, I can wait. Everybody else can. They're more important. They just said, no, they're just the same as they
Yes,
was.
was your vote? It shouldn't have been, because it wasn't, you haven't gone through legal.
There was a couple of languages in the website that was changes. I'll have to go back and double check.
Yeah, double check. Well, some things wouldn't have changed, so.
No, it wouldn't.
Yeah, so it could match. But the new stuff should be on.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it should. We haven't, the supervisors haven't.
Yes. I'll have to go back and look and make sure.
Okay.
He lived out, no, he was like finishing the way he was like.
Oh, okay.
Set her up and roll, yeah.
He's a white one. Yeah, I got
I know. Well, he said he's
Just trying to keep his blood pressure down.
always.
Yeah, I don't think when I took
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right.
So,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll call the June 23rd meeting of the Huntington Township Planning Commission to order. First item on the agenda is public comment on agenda items, so if there's anything, anybody has any comments on items that are on the agenda?
I do.
Jeff?
Jeff Decker, 10 Sunset Lane. Representing residents along Old Harrisburg Road where the proposed E&B clearing site is be. And I have a couple items that I'd like to possible here discussed in the proposal. And two of those items at the top of the list would be, is there going to be any manufacturing of any type or any aid to manufacturing? And number two would be, is there going to be compost, which might include manure, dead birds or other dead animals, and other organic matter? Or is it just going to be pure wood mulch? Just two of the top items with this.
Whenever we come around to that on the agenda, then we'll give you time to speak then.
Thank you.
Is there any other comments? If not, move on to approving the minutes of the May 19th meeting. Everybody had a chance to read those?
Yep.
Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes for record.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Marlon, is there a second to that?
I'll second.
Second by Tom. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. That's all right. Next item is zoning officer's report. Scott, you have the floor.
Okay, we received a May report from MDIA. Here's a list of all of his inspections that he had for the month of May. Electrical, plumbing, and building inspections. Is this something in the future you want to print out of?
Yes.
Okay.
Is Jim doing these personally, or is he,
Yes.
okay. All right.
So this is inspections, this isn't issuing building permits.
This list is inspections.
Okay.
Inspections and plan reviews.
Okay.
So there were a total of 21 inspections for the month of May. And there's a list of all the building permits.
Did you send us that?
Yes. All of that was in the
In that one?
OneDrive link in the email.
Let's just skip.
These go back to 2024 though, correct? This is,
Well, some of them are updates, some of them are in progress there. You know, there's under status on the right. So they're, if they're in
Okay.
status, he's gonna have them on there until they're completed.
okay, yep.
So anything that's after when we had the last report would be
This is
new
your
that
fir-
I need to report.
Right, but this is the first report.
Right, for him, but some of these we've already put it in our minutes and such, correct?
Yeah, however, Gus had done it
Okay,
before.
okay, all right,
He listed everything that was newly issued.
Correct.
right.
Yeah.
This is a much better way for us to look at them. Because these are all in progress, completed. He can take them off if they're completed, but.
Well, if you look at the second line, 130 Cannon Drive, single-family dwelling, that was just completed.
Okay,
So it's been going on since September 2024.
right, which isn't unusual.
Right, that's one of the larger jobs.
Yep.
So just, does it show the date it was completed? That one,
Date-
for instance?
Yep, the date issued on the right side.
See the date issued? But it's, oh, okay.
Date file inspection.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. It's like the month of June, or the month of June since the last meeting, you have that, is that on down, probably, listen.
This is just what I was sent so far.
Yeah, okay.
So when the next one comes out, we'll bring that to the committee.
Yeah, we don't have June, right, because he didn't submit June.
Right.
We'll be a month behind.
We're still in June.
Yeah, this will be a month behind, maybe even a little bit more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
2 for May.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have a question about how you want me to put this in the minutes. We always put in, I listed the building permits. Do you want me to list the inspections?
No.
Okay, just the building permits? Okay.
If somebody needs to know that, they can ask for it.
Well, it'll always be attached to my minutes,
Well, that's
the
the,
official minutes
that's the
anyways.
right way to do it.
Okay.
So then, do we know, I know we haven't gotten June yet, but is there anything in here that would have not been, would have been between the last meeting and this meeting that have come up? New. The only thing I'm thinking is, yeah, down at the bottom, you have May 19th, May 2nd, but May 19th looks like that's the only one that would have been,
Right.
okay.
It may be helpful, Scott, to, to the point of just letting us know what's come up since the last meeting. Just an asterisk or tell us, these two are new. That'd be helpful.
Mainly for Roxy. To be able
Yeah,
to put that down.
yeah, and then Roxy can know it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So we keep tab.
okay, thank you.
Any questions on the zoning report?
Oh. Anybody have any questions for Scott? Is there any zoning cases or anything up?
No zoning questions this month.
No hearing scheduled.
No hearings.
Okay. Okay.
All right. But if that's it for the zoning report, we'll go on to the engineer's report.
Greenbrier Road, the contractor's still working on the restoration. We lucked out that the Brightspeed cable was further off the road than we anticipated, so we were able to avoid that. Hopefully we get a little bit better coordination in the next project, because there's no going around it. It goes right through the project. The next project, Myerstown. We had our pre-construction meeting, and contractors preparing to start that project now. The current plan's under review. They're what we're going to be talking about today.
Okay.
Scott, did you tell them that the structure? Did you tell them the structure's here?
The structure is delivered?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay.
Something to fall.
Okay, I didn't hear that.
That's Myerstown, right?
Myerstown.
It's all aluminum, so we put it up in the barn.
That's it for the engineer's report. If you have any questions.
Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for Scott on engineers? Moving on to old business.
Okay, with JVI, we've previously approved that with conditions, and they've met those conditions. They've submitted their bond, they submitted all the other required items. You should have my comment letter there for JVI. Maybe not. They might have gotten it last month.
Yeah, we don't have any.
I think you emailed that to us earlier.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of the total submission.
And at the last supervisors meeting, the board approved the plan with one condition, that it comes back to the planning commission for re-review and approval.
And there was no, you refresh my memory, there was no change to the land development.
Correct.
Um,
The only change was some notations on stormwater and erosion control plans. And like I said, they've met all the conditions. They have their PennDOT HOP, they have their updated Conservation District permit, they have their updated Pennsylvania DEP permit. They've submitted their bond for required improvements. They've met all the conditions.
So they're asking us to recommend approval. It's been a condition.
Well, yeah, it's been conditionally approved. It is ready to be finally approved and signed if you so wish. Scott Barnhart is here for JVI. I don't know if he has any comments or if you have any questions for him.
You pretty much summed it up. There is an 18 by 24 somewhere floating around the township.
It's right there.
Okay, that I notarized. So if you would want to say everything is okay, we can get that signed. I'll get that recorded with the O&M agreements that I dropped off at the township and get those distributed. Just one other thing I did.
This is the same thing. This is the same thing.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the actual one I'll get recorded.
Yeah.
I did drop off to the township last Friday for a retaining wall, just to let you know, because you were talking earlier about permits. So Jim up at MDIA, I believe, came today and picked those drawings up. So over the next few weeks, he'll be looking at that for the retaining wall and the stairs and so forth. But as far as the land development plan, I think you guys are the last step at this point.
I handed out 11 by 17s if you need something smaller to look at. And these larger ones are for signature.
Right. And the last, again, refresh my memory, the last remaining condition of the supervisors is that we approve it, since it had to come back to us.
Correct.
Per protocol.
Correct, before they sign.
We didn't have to do anything else except approve it
Correct.
because of the protocol. Okay.
After you approve it and sign it, then the supervisors can sign it. They've already approved it.
Yeah, and we'll be satisfying the last condition by approving it.
Exactly.
You said there's, what was it,
Some notes, but not on here. So that's why it's,
Look at the 1117. It's highlighted in yellow on the PCSM and the EAS. If you want to see the note, but you're looking at the wrong size. Look at his small size.
One of the last pages.
is it the last? Yeah. 'cause
Not
it
the
isn't-
last page.
It isn't this plan.
You want me to come up and show you?
Here, third.
There we go.
It's sequencing notes.
I guess it's technically has to be reflected in the land development plan, but it's not part of the land development plan other than he noted it.
Does anybody have any, does anybody have any questions on this? Not hearing any, I guess I'll entertain a motion to, I guess, recommend approval, that's all, or recommend.
It's all it's left, yep. So I'll recommend approval to the supervisors of the final land development. JDI.
I'll second that.
Moved by Tom, second by Kyle. Is there any questions from the board? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll stop in.
Yeah, well, we'll sign them later on.
Yeah, I'll come back another day.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
This next item is 4J Farm LLC.
Yep. There was one minor change that was made, and the revision date changed. So that's why we have to reapprove and re-sign it, because your date of signature predates the revision.
Has this gone through Tyrone, and is it all approved at Tyrone?
I don't think
Okay.
it was signed by Tyrone yet, but I think.
Tyrone's not going to sign the plan until after Huntington Township signs the plan.
Okay.
Is part of that in Tyrone?
For me,
Is part of that in Tyrone?
not the lot being created, but the
Okay.
entire property, a portion of the Asper property is in Tyrone Township because it
Yeah.
crosses the creek.
Yeah.
The whole
Oh,
property.
yes, okay.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's in Huntington.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but because it crosses the creek,
Creek.
there's a portion of the Asper property that is in
okay.
Tyrone Township.
Gotcha.
Therefore, it needs to be approved.
Okay.
I guess I can,
If you look on the screen for the public, this whole property here, lot 1, all of that is the original farm, and lot 2 is down here in the lower right corner.
on Oxford Road. It's on Oxford too.
Yeah, it's the intersection of Oxford and
Ziegler.
Ziegler and Wilson Mill Road.
Before you finally approve and sign this plan, we also have the sewage planning module. And it's approved
Which
and
is the
signed.
reason for the revision. God's planning module, 4J Farm.
So what's the right order here then?
You approve the sewage planning module, and then you can approve
First.
the plan.
Okay,
Because that will be the final condition for final approval of the plan.
okay.
Yeah, it was after the supervisors already approved the plan,
Yeah.
that the planning module, the sewer enforcement officer then reviewed the planning module and wanted the existing septic system for the house on the property and the well shown,
All right.
which was never on the plan and was never commented on or anything.
So there were no changes to any of it physically, it was just showing it?
It was just showing the existing septic system and well.
Looking at the,
And the existing house and, for the farm is along Cranberry Road, which is roughly 1,000 or so feet away from the lot being
From what we're
created.
doing, yeah, okay. What did you have to say about this?
Well, I asked Roxy to check, but back in, March,
It was March
we made a motion to.
to recommend approval,
Aye.
yes. And then it was in the May meeting that supervisors approved it.
So what, as far as the module goes, I got what, redated,
The module was never
never submitted.
Never an issue.
never reviewed.
Yeah,
Well, we'll make a motion to reapprove it, and, but it's already signed, so. I'll let it sign again.
The sewage plan model was
Yeah.
signed?
Yeah, it's got the signature,
Okay,
that back.
A motion for the chairman and secretary to sign the planning module was made by Tom Strife and seconded by Ron Resch.
and that was March?
April.
This is
April, okay.
April 28th. meeting.
Yeah. The updated sewer plan was submitted, the planning module needs signed.
Okay, but that's different than showing it on the drawing.
Yeah.
That was,
Yeah, but the planning module, and this is
Yeah.
where everything, it was so confusing, because the planning module was never signed by the sewage enforcement officer,
Right.
because it was never reviewed by the sewage enforcement officer.
Well, just to be clear, we'll recommend to sign it. It's got my signature on it, so
Do we have to redate it or anything?
it's not,
It isn't dated?
It's not a dated
Okay.
signature on that.
What satisfies the SEO at this point? Because he's the one.
He signs it,
Okay, well, he already signed
Yeah,
it.
he
Yes.
signed it, signature.
So you understand my point?
yes.
He signed it.
That's-
Okay.
Okay.
So going forward, I have to make sure the SEO signs it before I bring it before you.
Oh, yeah, for the future.
Yeah.
But what's gonna make the SEO happy now? Just going back and saying, we looked at it, it was already signed?
He's happy now.
He's happy because he signed it.
Yeah, he signed it all, Doug signed it all.
Officially, you should not be reviewing it or signing it
Right.
until after the sewage enforcement officer.
I get that, I get that.
signs.
But for right now, what are we supposed to be doing?
Procedurally, what, I think we need to just make a motion to sign it. I'll put a date on here with my signature.
That makes sense to me.
And then
Okay.
that should wrap
All right.
that up.
All right.
Mostly clerical.
All right.
I wish it was, Jeff.
All right, we need a motion to sign the sewage planning module for the 4J Farm LLC for lot number 2.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second
Make Jeff, second Ron. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Okay. I'll put the current date on that. All right. Then on the, the next thing is the plan, so,
Yeah, it needs reapproval.
and that was to show the sewage.
Existing septic system and well
And
for
well.
the,
Okay.
the house on.
And that's the only
Lot
change.
one.
That was the
Is
only one.
lot one,
Over on Cranberry.
Yes.
which is the name of the subdivided lot.
No. Existing buildings.
Right. You can see the septic system is over here, and the well is actually in.
Probably in the house.
No, it's actually in an addition to the barn.
Oh.
Where's the house?
What's the old milk house?
Doesn't help me, Jeff.
It shows up.
That's what it was.
I've seen
I think,
it.
Scott.
And a lot of times they put, you find these wells or spring.
Hey, it's on. Yeah, no, I don't.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll have to Roxy and I'll have to re-sign these. How's, Scott, you probably know, as far, yeah, Scott, Ken.
That's all right.
Scott. We got those signatures on, as far as recording this. We have to double sign on that, you know?
Reapproved, just write reapproved with the new date.
Okay, there's room underneath Roxy's signature that we can do
Yeah, just reapproved with the new date.
that. All right. I know I can get tricky in there. Recorders.
Sure, correct,
All right. Does anybody want to make a motion to reapprove the 4J Farm LLC final subdivision plan?
I'll make that motion.
And I'll second it.
Beth made the motion. All in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Moved. Yeah,
You can sign this at the end of the meeting if you wish.
yeah.
And they'll have to stay here because they'll have to go back to the supervisors.
Yeah. Next item is discuss solicitors' comments on the Saldo update. And I'm gonna move that to down at the end of new business so we can accommodate. I think Andy's okay with that. So we're gonna move item C down to after, down in under new business. And then it's gone. Excuse me. Moving on to new business. Well, no other old business.
Correct.
New business plan for EB clearing discussion. And also there's a time extension note.
This is the EV clearing storage, proposed storage area off of Old Harrisburg Road. There's the project location. Right off of, between 15 and Old 15.
I have a bigger plan if you guys want that. I'm Elvin with EV Mulch, so I'm the owner
I
of it.
figured that.
Yep.
They're in the process of obtaining a PennDOT HOP for the driveway, the proposed driveway off of Old Harrisburg Road. There are some wetlands on the property. They're going to avoid that. And they're proposing 2 infiltration basins to manage stormwater runoff. They're proposing screening along Old Harrisburg Road and the residential property to the south. You all should have copies of my comments. Some of them are zoning related. So I believe the owner's going to proceed with the zoning hearing board, is that correct? To address these? Yep. So we haven't received that application yet, but they're going to have to apply for a zoning hearing board variance because they're not able to meet some of the zoning requirements. For instance, our zoning ordinance requires 2 driveways, 2 points of ingress and egress. PennDOT will never approve 2 driveways. So they have to come to the zoning hearing board for a variance for that requirement.
What else?
Parking, Parking is required, one space per every 200 square feet of floor area. There's no floor area, there's no structure. So we'll have to come to the zoning hearing board and work out a variance, what's appropriate to provide for parking spaces. Also, curb and sidewalk are required around parking areas. Again, that's typically for structures, they're not gonna have a structure. There's no,
Is there never any plans for a building?
New buildings. What about an office?
Buildings.
How you gonna?
All we plan on doing at this location is processing firewood and screening topsoil.
So.
We're not bringing any mulch,
No
nothing,
retail.
no retail,
There's no retail there.
no retail at all.
When you process the topsoil, where's it going after that?
It'll go
Wholesale?
to our retail yard.
It'll go back over to
It'll
White
be
Church?
It'll be stockpiled there, but our retail yard is on White Church, and we also do wholesale.
Okay.
So there would be probably loading and unloading there occurring at that site, at this
Yes.
new site.
Yes. But none of our retail customers will be in and out of that site for pickup.
Wholesale? Will you have wholesale?
No,
Firewood or
it'll all-
topsoil?
Everything will all go to.
Everything will go on the other spot?
Yes.
So this is just basically for storage?
Yes.
Well, there's
It's more of an
processing.
an expansion to give us a little bit more room. We're trying to get the firewood out of there. A little bit of truck parking and stuff, for our trailers and stuff, just so we have a little more room where we're at.
Will that whole lot be stone or gravel?
Millings,
Most,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
What were you saying?
this plan is not up for action.
Yeah, that was gonna be mine.
It's just for informational purposes, to show you where we are, what's been going on so far. If you have any questions for the property owner.
Yeah.
We
Jeff,
don't,
you
we
had
don't want, we don't want to bring it in and you guys see it only once.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You had a question.
Yeah, when we speak, we're supposed to tell you our address.
Mhm.
I'm just concerned if the owner is a resident of the township.
Yes, 370 White Church Road.
Okay, I didn't hear that when you started speaking. You're gonna be cutting firewood there,
Splitting, yes, and we're processing,
so there will be noise.
just as much as the highway produces.
So would it be in writing that there won't be mulch, manufacturing of mulch and compost on that property? Is that a
I mean,
possibility?
as for compost is a rumor that's going around about us. We don't compost at all. Mulch manufacturing, I'm not saying that there might not be some mulch product that comes over. Sometimes we mix mulch with topsoils to sell. So there could be some mulch mixture over there. But for our grinders and tree debris and all that, and grinding over there won't be any of that.
And could that be subject to change in the future?
No, it's gonna be firewood and topsoil operation.
Will
Like
that
I
be-
said, I don't know where this compost thing's coming about, but, well, I do know, but I'm not gonna.
The operation of this, what is the time frame? Like 6 in the morning to 5 at night, or 7 to 3, or whatever? What's
I would
the
say
time?
daylight to dark, but we're usually running at 7 o'clock in the morning, and my guys are usually done by 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be over there working a little later if I need to, but we don't go into the dark.
There's no nighttime lighting?
They're like, no.
Will
I'm
there
not
be-
saying there, okay, so there might be a
Security lights, right?
security
We
lights
can
or
handle
something
it.
like
Okay.
that, but there's no lighting for us to do operation.
Okay.
And you're gonna have utility ran, electric into the site, correct?
There is electrical on the site already.
there is,
The little-
okay.
The little building that's sitting on the
Oh,
site
okay.
already.
There used to be a pottery shed or something.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
here on the top.
Just for a little while.
You gotta move your entrance down.
We're moving it down from the neighbors, down by RNA, I think it's RNA Smith Body Shop.
Yeah.
His entrance is down there. So we're not gonna be near any of the residents with the truck traffic or any traffic coming in. The proposed is to cut the property down lower. Those trees will be up probably about 6 to 8 feet above us. So we're trying to get everything down so the noise and any operation can't be seen. It's kind of just like our 346 property where we put a berm up the whole way and we're just trying to separate the property from any of the residents.
What type of trees, and you got evergreens?
Yes, so right now, I already have, the Green Giants planted along Old Harrisburg. But we'll add much more, it's not a problem, so. Yeah, I mean, my goal is always to try to separate us from the neighbors, you know, I don't.
Buffer.
Yes.
Create a buffer. Yes.
Julia Burgess, I'm the person to the south, so 6735. My only concern is the billboard. So I do currently mow onto your property on purpose so they don't go on my septic. Because they drive down our property line and go down to the billboard, which is on closer to my property. So I don't know, it's not too far in. But they come down the property line, and before he wasn't mowing it, and they were going over top of our septic, and I didn't really want them to do that. So I've been mowing.
I'm sorry, who's the they that's doing that? When you say they are doing that? They are driving over your septic?
Oh, whoever does the billboard, I don't know, whoever the billboard
Maintains
is.
that.
Yeah. So
Yeah, I mean, they should be coming in that driveway for the pottery thing.
And
they can go
they
straight
never
to
do.
it.
They always go between our property line, and so that's why I mow all the way to your shed, because I just wanna, they don't wanna go through the tall grass. So
Right.
that's my biggest,
It's
I
the
don't
first
want them
time
on my
hearing about it.
septic.
If
Well, yeah,
you
that's good.
let me know, I
Well,
would
that's fine.
definitely call them and have them
No,
make
but that's
sure.
fine. No, I'm fine with mowing it. I just wanted to let you know,
Right.
as a, to let them know how to get to the billboard, I guess.
The billboard's down along.
Not that far. It's pretty,
Route
it's,
15 there. about
yeah,
there.
it's,
What's it advertised?
it changes.
Lamar, I think, is, yeah, it's Lamar.
They come every like month and a half. I don't know,
Yeah, there's 2
months.
billboards there for Lamar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something you can help.
Yeah,
for,
Yeah,
no, that's fine.
absolutely,
I just wanted to,
absolutely.
I just wanted to mention it. It's not a huge problem. I just wanted to make sure that
Right.
Well, it's
whenever
become
you're
a
building your
buffer.
trees.
You got it over your septic.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
gotta stop it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they won't even be
I
able to,
understand.
once everything happens, they
Yeah.
wouldn't even be able to come in that way anyhow.
Yeah, you're gonna
That
add
will
the
be
trees
blocked
there.
off.
Yeah, you're adding the trees on your side, so yeah, it will make it harder for them to turn. So
Yeah,
that's
they-
fine.
And
Yeah.
that building and all that access is gonna be gone,
Yeah.
so they have to come in the bottom driveway
Okay.
once that.
And yeah,
What's
you
the
can-
when you say bottom driveway?
Down by the retention ponds
The
there.
proposed
Right
entrance.
there.
Okay, do they have an easement through this property? How, you just can't drive over somebody's property and access.
Oh, no.
They would have an
I bought the
access.
property
they're
with the
doing it.
billboards on it, so
They-
I don't know exactly all their.
They have an easement. to
They
get their
would
building.
have,
Sounds like an
they
easement.
would have an access easement
Yeah.
for maintenance
Okay.
and
Written in.
renewing it,
Okay.
changing it monthly or
That's
something.
right.
But we've gotta stop them from driving over your septic.
Yeah,
a-
well, that's why I
a
was mowing
long-term-
his property to
Yeah.
make, because they didn't want to go on the tall grass.
They
They
shouldn't
wanted
be
to go
on
on the
the
short
other,
grass.
they shouldn't be on our property, period.
Period.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
I'm not sure where they.
Don't be nice. I mean, they gotta stop that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Nope, that's all the concerns. That was the
Yeah.
main thing. It's like,
Yeah.
stay off my septic.
Exactly. If the easement is through your property, they should be going through your property. Yeah,
Randy, did you
Okay.
have
But
a
no, you can
question?
handle that. That's fine.
Yeah.
Just, yep.
Okay.
Just, yep.
all right.
Did you have a question, Maria?
Yes, I'd like to know in our zoning code of Huntington Township, what is the definition between mulching business and a composting business? And maybe this gentleman could explain the differences, since that's kind of a sore spot.
We don't have a different definition in our zone. That's
sorry?
that's a state definition. It's not a township definition.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy if you'd like to.
I mean, honestly,
say
the
it.
definition of compost, if you look it up, could be many, many things. I mean, all the farmers all around here compost. With our mulch manufacturing, we're not actually doing anything that would be composting. We're dyeing the material with a all-natural color material that we add water, and that's how the mulch is manufactured. We sell a natural mulch, which is naturally aged just by the natural water that hits it. It's just the aging of wood. So we're not composting at all. I mean, they do have leaf compost, at some of these township places, but we don't do any of that.
And you're gonna be splitting firewood.
Yes.
Exactly how does the product get onto the old Harrisburg property? Are these tractor trailers, these flatbeds that bring tree trunks in?
It'll be a tractor trailer, log trailer, what you see logs being hauled on.
And usually how much, like, can you estimate the amount of trucks that would have to come in on a daily or weekly basis?
I mean, right now we sell maybe 40 tractor trailer loads of firewood a year. So you'll see 40 tractor trailers possibly come in that way.
And that's over a period of time.
A year.
A year.
What you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Less than
Yeah,
one.
not every day.
Less than 1 a week.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
A year.
one day you might see it twice, or you might not see nothing at all during the
But the
week.
point
I mean,
typically,
our-
I'm sorry, but typically firewood is a seasonal thing, so your firewood, I would imagine most of your firewood work, that is going to be at a certain couple months out of the year.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we usually start splitting around August, and we'll split going into
Coming
the
into
fall.
the fall and
and
winter, right.
We're sold out and out of firewood usually by the end of November.
Right.
And then the topsoil operation, I mean, that is when it's dry. When it's April, March, the winter months, we can't do anything with the topsoil. It's too wet to screen. So we're usually only screening topsoil May, June, and July. And we're only screening enough to stockpile into our building at our other location, and to have a little bit extra at that one with a tarp over top of it.
Another question, please?
Yes.
Firewood, et cetera, I've been told, I'm a city person originally, it draws snakes, et cetera. How do you alleviate that issue in such a large production? Or you just leave it, go to nature?
How does every resident,
Hmm?
and how does every resident in the area take care of snakes and mice and, I mean,
Well, a
every
commercial
farm,
business is different.
every farm around here.
No, I realize that. I mean, we
We
have
all
black
have a
rat
problem.
snakes, et
I
cetera,
don't-
but.
I don't think there's an easy answer to that question.
Not really. There is, it depends where you're at. I mean, there's some places more susceptible to having snakes around than others.
Right.
And,
Well, in a large commercial space, though, I would assume it could become a serious issue. But,
Well, but it's constantly moving product, so
Snakes
it's
don't
not
like
like there's
that.
gonna be a
Yeah,
pile
snakes don't like
of rotted wood there for next 2 to 5 years. It's constantly moving, right?
Right, yeah, well, this pile goes out, another pile comes in,
Right,
from the
yeah,
following year. It's,
They don't like,
there's gonna be noise, yeah, I mean,
okay.
they like something stable, not in stir.
Yeah, it was a
around.
general question because, like I said, I'd like to learn about.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ted,
Yeah, Jeff.
so he just said there will be noise. I copied some stuff off the Huntington Code. I was doing a little research, and I have it on paper. Can I submit that to you, to the board, or would that be for the supervisors?
I'm not sure.
What did you copy? I'm not sure. I'm not
Well,
following.
some of the Huntington Code,
Code for what? Noise?
yeah, noise and other concerns that residents would have.
Okay, that's fine. It's in the code already. I mean, what are you asking of us, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Well, I could submit it to you, or read it.
Do you have copies, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to submit a copy, I'll make sure everyone gets it.
Go through.
Now, some of this would be eliminated because he's saying no mulch.
Mhm. Give it to Scott, he's the zoning officer.
Yeah.
I usually want to, since we're going to be neighbors, you can see what we're concerned about.
where's Sunset located at?
Right there across.
lane straight across from that.
Yeah.
What's
Thank
the,
you.
what's the noise, what's the general, I remember what the noise issues were with the sports complex.
There's limits based on decibels,
What are they?
duration,
Do you remember what they are?
no.
Let me read you
It's
just
very
a
technical.
part of it.
Go ahead.
It's very technical.
I-
Any use
understand.
or activity upon property that by reason of flame, smoke, odor, fumes, noise, or dust unreasonably interferes with the reasonable use, comfort, and enjoyment of a neighbor's property, or endangers the health and safety of the occupants of a neighboring property.
Yeah, that's general nuisance.
Yeah, general nuisance, that's
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
that's exactly what Jim comes in here and has been complaining about now the last how many months. And here we're gonna put the operation in closer to the
Which is,
residents.
it's a different.
Well, different operation
It's a
for
different
now,
operation.
but who's to say that
Well, that's
it
why
doesn't grow?
the business is expected to comply with the zoning that he was given to begin with.
Okay.
So if he chooses to make changes from the permits he was given, and it's different when the permit was given 40 years ago and no one remembers even what the permit is. That's a different, some of this was done before zoning. That's not the case anymore. So when we issue a permit for a particular purpose, if that purpose changes, there needs to be a change to the permit. So that's what I'm saying is, it's not as easy to say, well, you know, he's making widgets today. If he chooses to, make car engines, he can do that. No, he can't. So if there's a change in the use, he has to get a change in the permit. So just to be clear, those are things we look at now to make sure that doesn't happen.
But
And I might add.
Go ahead, go ahead.
I might add that we'll be going through zoning variances, which
we are.
when variances are granted or not granted, whatever, but whenever they're granted, there's conditions on those variances. And you're locked into that variance condition.
But if that doesn't happen and other stuff starts showing up, who enforces that? You're not the enforcer, are you?
This board isn't, but the supervisors are.
And
Yeah.
the board of supervisors.
Yeah. Yes.
There's a lot of steps to go through yet. All right.
Yeah, general question. It's seeking, my understanding, and when a property owner seeks a zoning variance, they have to prove that that property cannot be used. There has to be a hardship on the
Right,
property,
yeah.
is that so?
You have to prove hardships, you have to go through there's a list in the ordinance that you have to go through that list and prove that you can,
And this property has to go for a zoning variance, is that?
Right.
So what is the hardship on this property? I realize this could be discussed
I
in
didn't
zoning.
evaluate it yet.
Yeah, we
All
are.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, one of them is that the zoning ordinance requires 2 driveway accesses.
yeah.
And
And
PennDOT
PennDOT will
allow
never
it.
give him a second driveway access. It's
Yeah.
something that's out of his control.
Yeah,
So
that's,
then you'll have to apply for a variance.
As an example, yes,
that's,
yes.
But the issuance of a variance would not make this PennDOT issue a permit for one driveway, correct?
I don't understand
I'm
what
sorry.
you're saying.
Well, you're saying PennDOT would never give a permit for a second driveway for this property?
Right, that's their standard operating procedure. When a property is so much frontage, they'll only grant one access point.
Okay. So if they go in for a zoning variance and the township decides to approve that, what happens with PennDOT? I mean, we can't overrule a PennDOT rule, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, nothing happens.
that's the whole purpose of the variance, so we can
Yeah.
conform with PennDOT.
Okay, thank you.
So this, as far as the plan itself, I know you have a time extension request in here. it was from Wilson Engineering, is grant the time extension until November 13th to address the zoning items and other review items. So that should give you enough time to go through the hearing and all that. That time. You have that. Is there anything else we need to discuss on this before? And we're going to table it for tonight.
This wasn't an official submission, though, right?
It's already been submitted,
Yeah.
It's under review.
It's under review with
But it's,
Scott's comment.
it's not up for action, it's not up
There's
for
nothing.
approval.
Well,
This-
I guess that's where I was going.
Yeah, they haven't addressed the comments, no action on that. So,
Just a discussion item.
Will PennDOT hold this thing up? Will you know from PennDOT?
Well, they've been working on it for several months,
So they have, okay.
so I would think that by November, they'll have their print up.
And if not, we'll just have to
We,
keep,
we might have to grant, accept them granting us another extension.
well, that's, okay, that's what I thought.
Andy?
Well, when we get to the Saldo part, there's an update on how outside permits are handled in terms of conditions with plans. There's been recent case law that's dealing with that, so.
Has county commented on this?
Yes.
Also, we have a DEP sewer non-building waiver has to be acted on too. Right.
Do you have that? Yeah, we don't have that.
Well, it's premature to act on it. No.
I mean, if we had it, you could. It's got nothing to do with the other
Yeah. It's just that there's
residents' concerns.
no on-site septic or anything like that involved. So that's what the purpose of the waiver is.
Right. There's none currently and there's none proposed.
The building that's on there, are you gonna tear that down or keep it or what?
Pottery shed.
Whatever it's-
I haven't made a decision on that honestly yet. It's just sitting there. I haven't even opened the building since we bought the property, so. Hopefully there's cold in there and I don't have to deal with it. So.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing, is there any other discussion on this?
Not tonight, but thanks for coming, and thanks for your guys' comments. It's helpful to understand it.
First item, I want to somebody recommend the time extension stated until November 13th, 2025 for the EB Clearing Incorporated.
Did you say 13th or 15th?
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I'll make that motion.
Tom made the motion. Second by Todd. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. That, as far as that non-building waiver, is that listed on the plan that's presented?
Yeah.
That's
Right.
number.
Number 8 on the back.
That's on the, in the comments.
It's in the comments. I don't know if it's on
I'm sorry.
fire.
Okay.
Let's see if it's on the plan. We can- Read, it's pretty small.
Do you remember, Scott? Is it on the plan?
Yeah, I don't.
It should be, right?
Yeah. I've made a note, I'll double check.
It's not on the front page.
Yeah, there is a note number 7 on that cover on the plan. There's a small, it's that waiver. If you can read that, it's pretty small. It's on the plan, so it wouldn't do anything out of order.
Well, there's 11 by 17
There is?
copies there.
Okay. Which plan are we looking at here now? So that's not EV.
No,
Okay.
That's
Oh, no, wait.
this is style.
Right, wrong one.
It's on there too, though.
Yeah, it's on there.
I don't think it's number 7. On the front page,
What do you, you got 11 by 17?
You're
Yeah.
recommending to the board.
number 7 is
Plan's complete without-
That's
for the benefit of the title.
Title report.
That tag on billboard.
What I'm saying, if it's listed on there, we can,
Yeah,
but if it's not,
Forego it, but
Well, it should be listed. I mean, if it's not, it's just gotta be added.
I don't think it's there.
Let's see.
Yeah, I made a note to.
Yeah, so just look for it.
you made a comment.
We got
on it.
plenty of. Yeah, I don't see it
It's there.
specifically.
No,
Okay.
we'll wait till the plan's revised and put that note has to go on the cover sheet.
Yeah.
Well, looking at those, this states for mulch stockpiling, so that needs to be changed. It says right there, number 1, for mulch stockpiling.
And topsoil stockpile.
Under the general plan.
I see it, yeah.
There again, I said that there could possibly be mulch there, but we're not gonna manufacture mulch, but we may use it for a mixture of some sort with our soils. So the stockpile of mulch is a possibility.
As you blend mulch and soil
And soil,
together for certain.
Yes.
it's
Certain-
just a
I-
stockpile.
For amended soils, they
Amended
use it for the
soils,
amended
yeah.
soils for the ponds, and we use the mulch material too.
I get it, but nowhere on here does it say firewood, does it? I mean, that was one of your primary uses of it, and it does not say firewood.
I will have them add that too. but
I'm just
No, that's
saying,
fine,
I
yeah.
don't, I mean, for the benefit of the neighbors
Right.
Well, and the benefit of
and
yourself.
everybody.
If
Right.
you don't put it
everybody.
on there and you start doing firewood
Right.
and somebody complains about the noise of
Right.
splitting firewood, then you have a problem. I don't want you to have a
And just make sure it's clear on there what you're.
That's why I'm here today.
Right,
So,
right.
Get all the
Well, I get
details right.
direct communication with you, you know what we want to see.
Yes.
What is the process for the topsoil? Like exactly, since I don't know the business at all, you bring soil from another area and,
From a job site of some sort, a development that's joining, so we'll bring in the topsoil, screen out the rocks, like a rock tumbler, you screen it out, and
so that involves tractor trailers also, correct?
triaxles. Yep.
So when you're processing the soils, exactly how do you keep the dust down?
I mean, we add water to it to keep the moisture and stuff.
You do.
You're gonna be drilling a well then, correct?
Yes.
What for total water load are you looking at? Just curious.
Not gonna be a whole lot, to be honest with you.
Question again, I'm sorry. When you bring soil from another area, are there logs that you have to keep on where you're getting the soil and the timber that you're going to create? There's no requirement by the DEP that you have to keep. Oh, really?
Okay, and this is just to really get us informed of what's going on here. So there's gonna be more review as this goes on. And I'll entertain them, like, for right now, we need a table plan. Entertain a motion to table the EB clearing plan. Tom made it, Kyle second.
Ted,
Huh?
this says for the June 23rd and July 28th meetings, the table it for both meetings,
Okay, well, the one,
which is, the one's tonight, but they
Yeah.
want, asking it to be tabled for the 28th,
okay.
correct? So you don't want to come back to
Yeah,
us
one
till
up on the
August?
agenda in
Do you
July.
know, is that what that means?
He wrote that originally because Paul knew he wasn't gonna be able to make this meeting tonight.
Oh, okay, so just say that
And
we
then
tabled
after,
it.
right, and after
Okay.
that, he talked to Alvin, and Alvin was able to make it, to answer your questions.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't want to
That's-
table it for a meeting that doesn't exist yet. We can't table
Call
something
from
for
Judson Control.
a meeting we haven't had yet.
Yeah,
And
Call from Judson.
Roxy, we
Control.
decide what gets tabled, not a letter somebody wrote to us.
No, I'm just saying that, never mind.
yeah, the time extension was granted until November 13th, and we can, as far as tabling it, that's our discretion.
Right. And we did tonight.
Yeah, so,
Did
motion,
did
motion,
we eventually vote on that?
you made the motion.
Okay.
Who made the motion?
Kyle second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. All right.
Thank you for coming.
Where we go? Styles.
Yeah, we'll do that. Once you get the plan revised, note on about the DEP's non-voting move, we can act on that then. Yeah, the next item is Joseph Stiles, one lot subdivision.
I recommend approval of the plan with the following conditions: that the owner statement is signed and notarized, and that sewer planning is approved prior to final plan approval. And as part of that, we have the sewer planning modules for review and approval today.
Where's that located?
There's the planning module for Styles.
Okay.
Well, I'll ask you a question. Were they approved by the city office?
Yes.
Good question.
There's the location.
It's up near Rock Chapel.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
This isn't,
Same side.
this isn't the one that's also in Tyrone.
No,
No.
no.
This
This
There's
is all
another
Huntington.
one yet coming that a little bit is in Huntington.
Yeah, we already went through that.
We already went through that, okay.
Is that the old place that was sold last summer? This style?
Yeah.
Yes. There's an auction.
That-
It was
that-
auctioned last
They got the
Oh.
house partially taken down. Okay.
It was Rusty's.
Rusty,
Emirates.
Emlyn.
Rusty Elm.
Used to be
Okay,
Emlyn.
okay,
Okay.
okay, now I
I'm
know
trying
where
to figure out where it was at. Okay.
So that existing dwelling out front is going to be removed, the old house?
It's down to the square right now. The windows are out.
I presume it will eventually be removed and they will be constructing a new dwelling somewhere else on lot 1.
And it is a little odd shape. I mean, there's this little flag that goes down here to the replacement, to this new septic area. That's because there's no suitable soils down on the main part of lot 1 for a new septic system. So that's why it's configured this way.
So they're gonna pump down to that. Right.
So what's going on here, just in plain English?
Subdividing a roughly 5 acre parcel into 2 lots. a 2.2 acre and a 2.8 acre residue.
Okay.
Lot 2 will have a new dwelling constructed on it with a septic system.
Is this one
They're
family?
very close, aren't they? The septic system.
Well, they're right
for-
next to it.
Yes,
Yeah.
they're right next to each other.
Okay, and that's okay with you? Scott?
It meets the minimum required separation distances by DEP.
Okay.
So they're gonna pump everything from lot 1 down to that
Yeah.
area.
The effluent.
Yeah. the gray one.
And lot 1's gonna have a new house as well?
Eventually, yes.
Oh, okay.
But that's not part of what we're doing.
But currently, there is an existing dwelling on lot 1.
Yeah, I see that.
The garage in the outbuilding is gonna still be there probably.
Yes. They do have plans maybe to remove another building or, a
Lean-to
shed,
type
but
stuff.
depending on their,
Yeah, because there's a garage, two garages, a barn,
Yeah.
a couple sheds.
And this property is on the west side of Oxford Road.
Yes.
yes.
So that's why it's kind of goofy. So to me,
Yeah,
that should be
it's on
upside turned.
Same side as the rock chop.
I was thinking
Yeah, that's
first,
right. That's right.
I was thinking first it was
Yeah.
Roy Piper's place.
Yeah.
You can see the Rock Chapel
Yeah.
property
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
to the right.
backwards because it's the other way.
Right.
Yeah.
You're used to seeing 180.
Then everything would be upside down.
Yeah, you're seeing it the other way.
But I always thought that side of Oxford Road was Tyrone.
Tyrone is close. It's
not
Up
far
on top of the
Yeah,
hill.
it's
yeah, off to the west.
Up on
You can
top of
see it
the
right
hill
there.
is
It's right there.
Tyrone.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so where are we tonight then? What do we ask?
The sewer planning module is up for review and approval, and then the plan is up for review and recommending approval of the super.
Okay, and you already gave us the conditions.
Yeah.
Any issues, any conditions left with the planning module, is that all?
Sewage enforcement officer has signed it.
So that's done.
He did this time.
Yeah.
The only other condition would be then, here in the lower left corner, the signature and notarization of the owners.
Okay. Is this one family that's doing this?
Actually, 2 families,
Okay.
Stiles and Millers. They own the property jointly.
Oh,
I say Stiles is son-in-law, isn't it?
I think so.
okay.
So basically, it's family.
Yeah, because that's the
Yeah.
flag lot's an
Yeah.
odd, it's an odd thing. Usually that's.
And as Scott said, that's because they could not find any suitable soils on the main portion of Lot 1 to put a new septic system.
Right. Is there a septic at all in Lot 1 now?
Yes, there is.
Oh, I see.
Well, yeah,
To
there's the house.
to the west of the existing house,
There's the septic tank.
there's a septic tank.
Is there a field or just,
They don't
they
know
hope for the
anything.
best?
Nobody knows.
Yeah, they just hope for the best.
Probably 300 gallon tank.
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
Yeah.
If there is any type of field, it's on the west side of the driveway.
They didn't have any water in that house.
No, there's a well.
No.
Yeah, there's a while.
There's a well, but they didn't have.
That doesn't guarantee, right, it doesn't guarantee that there's water in the
Yeah,
house.
Rusty didn't have water in the house?
I don't think so. Water here we hooked up.
There's an older well to
And,
the east, just east of the house, close to the porch. The old hand well no longer exists.
Is there a well drilled on Lot 2?
No, there is currently no well on Lot 2.
Okay.
They'll be drilling a new well.
You good?
Ken, this module is that's one of those exemptions, right?
Yes,
Yeah, so,
because everything has been perked.
right. And that'll have to be signed by the supervisors, I think. Yeah, we don't need to sign anything. All we need to do is recommend to the board
To
of
the
supervisors.
supervisors.
Okay. Thought that was. And the SEO signed all for it, so. Okay. Does anybody have any questions? Concerns or anything?
No.
Okay, first off, I'll entertain a motion to recommend approval of the sewage planning exemption. It's called, it's DEP. It's a short form module, what it amounts to. And that'll be the Board of Supervisors will be signing that on that form.
I'll make that.
Okay, motion's been made by Tom, is there a second to that? Second by Marlon, is there any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved. I can show you that.
Okay.
Yes. Scott, you're okay with everything?
Yep, I recommend that you recommend approval to the supervisors with the condition that it is signed and authorized by the owners.
Okay.
And
Well, you just.
this is done, so this is satisfied, so we're really down to one.
Correct.
Does anybody want to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Tom, second by Kyle, to recommend conditional approval to the Board of Supervisors. The condition being that the owner's statement is signed and notarized for final approval. That it?
We have to vote.
Oh, who's making that motion?
Yeah,
I did. Tom.
Oh, we already
Second.
did, Tom and Kyle. Yeah,
Yes.
just-
Got voted with.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. All in favor?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, so moved.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ken.
Now we're back to old business, item C.
Yeah, right, Andy.
Andy.
So I handed out, because I don't know that I'd actually done this before, sort of the compiled copy, including the appendix of the typical street cross-section construction specs that Scott pulled together. See what the whole thing looks like. The reason it's coming back to you is, so after you guys approved it, so it's sent off to the solicitor to look through, and just got back to Scott and I last week with basically 5 bullet points here that comments were that they wanted us to run back past you. I looked through them today, and some of them I don't think are significant, require significant changes. None of them require significant changes. They just need some massaging a little bit. Let's see. So the first point is comes into under section 403, which starts on page 17 in the packet, in the version I handed out to you. And it's really 3 sections, 403A, 403C, and 403I. 403A, the issue this has a section where about a completeness review there that we talked about and we added there in terms of making sure the plans that get, now something like we saw today, maybe it's not a big deal, you get a significant size plan that's might be rushed, there's often comes in missing some things that are required and they get added over time. You know, technically it's, you know, not supposed to be that way. You know, but this would allow you, give you the process to allow you to, you know, the opportunity to correct that. If they don't, you reject the plan. Refuse to accept it. The solicitor's comments were basically making sure that the decision to do that is coming from the right entity to do that. It's not just like the planning commission has that role. It's the supervisors that might have that, formally has that role. So just there's probably some language we'll have to add, and I've sent that to the solicitor some suggestions that I had. I have not heard back from him, so I just sent them today. I did expect to. It's not a super difficult thing to add. It's like a couple phrases here or there, a sentence or two. That basically says it goes to the board, to the supervisor, probably upon recommendation by either the zoning officer or the planning commission, et cetera.
Yeah,
Just making sure that the proper process is followed so you don't get a deemed approval.
yeah, and I guess the other element of that is I don't want to put our supervisors in a position that they've been in before, where the pressure brought on by the developer, I'll say it that way, politely as I know how, the pressure brought on by the developer is to keep the process going, and our supervisors, I think it's fair to say, rely on this planning commission. And I don't want to be in a position where everything just says supervisors if they're depending on us. If they're depending on us, I want the language to reflect that as best we can. I realize we don't make law, they do.
Right.
So as long as you keep that in mind, I don't know that we're like every other township. I think some are and some aren't. So I just want to be in a position where we're helping the supervisors so they don't get painted into a corner and feel the pressure of an approval when it shouldn't be that way. Let me just say it that way. Is that fair? Okay.
Right, and I think the question then becomes, what's the right text in here to make sure that it captures that
Right.
process
Right.
there, which I think it there's some extra language needs to be added there to reflect that and where the final step in that action lies.
Okay. Okay.
So, that.
All right.
Next is 403C. And this relates to 403C and 403I are kind of related. 403C specifically is talking about, it's calling out about sentence, the fourth sentence, which starts, failure to make a response to the township, etc. This relates to, you approve a plan with conditions. They have a certain amount of time to accept or reject those conditions. Then they have to meet those conditions. What you're saying is you're establishing a time clock. You have X amount of time to meet those conditions. The issue, of course, and this gets into on I in the next page, is there's been case law recently that essentially says that municipalities cannot hold up signing a plan because they haven't met conditions that require outside entity approval. So you make a condition that You know, the plan has to be approved. It's approved, they have to get their stormwater permits, their NPDES permits, their HOPs, things like that.
Yep.
You have no control over when those agencies issue those permits. The courts have said that because of that, it's essentially irrelevant to you. My terms, not the courts. You know, this originated from a case up in the Lehigh Valley area. It specifically had to do with an HOP. It's specifically an HOP. The access wasn't directly onto the state road. It was onto a road that went onto the state road in an industrial park. But because of what was being developed, PennDOT was involved. Think, down in Gettysburg along Route 30, there's Camp Letter Drive that starts over there at Sheets and whatnot. Well, eventually it's going to go all the way around and come out down over by Hunterstown Road. Everything back there is coming off of what will be a township road, but an HOP is required to put that out onto the state road. You know, it was something related to that sort of scenario where it was coming off of the other road. It got contentious. The developer and the township were not friends. Let's put it nicely. There's some articles on that you can find that really show why they're not friends. But in terms of the case law, they basically said, you know what, you can't hold up their plan because PennDOT hasn't issued the permit yet. Now, I think the DEP, those are a little better example of how long it takes, because the planning code very specifically calls out a process for PennDOT. This is almost 40 years ago. Recognize that PennDOT takes forever on the HOPs, and it very clearly spells it out. Why the courts didn't follow that, I don't know. And I suspect on appeal that might be litigated. But for the time being, that's really what it boils down to. The first part here, and I have some language here that would add to that sentence, or failure to make a response to it at the end, that would basically say that, upon recognition by the Planning Commission, unless an extension has been granted, that relates to the review process. And then under 403I, it's basically saying that my recommendation would be adding a sentence that says, conditions requiring action by a third-party agency, descriptions shall not be subject to the 90-day requirements for addressing the conditions of approval. Okay. It's very simple. It calls it out, and we let it go from there.
I do have a question about this. What if a change to the permit or the outside agency affects directly the land development plan?
That was just what I was thinking.
In that example,
Just for example, if PennDOT has to make EB put in another driveway, wouldn't that be an altercation of the land development plan?
Right. But in the example that you were quoting, those PennDOT improvements are off-site, so they wouldn't have affected the land development plan.
Right. In that case, yes. In other cases, it might be a simple, access into residential development that just, because the PennDOT's review process takes 9 months and 6 review cycles to get approved, type of thing. So, but that's hence you're starting to raise the issue of why some of the foolishness of that case law taken to its extreme is, you're saying, well, you can't do this, but what happens if by the time they get around to reviewing it, it changes things? Right. Now you've already dictated we have to approve a plan, And they don't, but that, these conditions can be met at any time.
Conditions alter the plan.
Yeah.
We've had that with previous plans where the conservation district came back, altered the plan from what was originally submitted, and recommended for approval.
But isn't that more straightforward though? Because then they have to resubmit the plan, even if we've approved one. I think the trickier one is actually the one where it doesn't alter the plan,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's
Anyway,
good. It's
they're
good.
both
It's-
tricky.
It's a good question, and I
Yeah.
think it's one that perhaps I need to ask the solicitor to weigh in on that situation. What happened? Like I said, this case law is. I mean, it just was decided what happened last summer.
Yeah.
It hasn't even, to my knowledge, the appeal hasn't even worked its way through. So it's not necessarily 100% settled.
Right, it may be moved.
But
Yeah.
that's, I can almost guarantee you that's, if, let's say it's upheld, I can almost guarantee you that's going to be the next thing that gets appealed in there is, okay, this came through, now the plan changes. How do we hold them? Do they have to go back? Does that invalidate the previous approval? What happens there? I could foresee that leaving problems, which again, the planning code is very specific when it comes to PennDOT, not necessarily the other ones, but it comes to PennDOT on this matter, which is why I'm kind of scratching our heads over it. But anyway, so you said, so it's very simple change. It's just adding some extra language there to clarify what the proper steps are, or clarifying what's required.
Yeah, bottom line, we can't hold up the plan for an outside agency.
Right.
According to that.
Right. That's the first one. The second one, this, again, it's not really an issue per se, but it's something to be aware of. It's 503A5 on page 39, 503M on page 45, and 519 on page 61. One is about private streets, new private streets, how new private streets will be handled. The other is about that alleys may be included, but shall not be dedicated to the township. And 519 is the HOA standards. The solicitor's raising the point here that what that combines to say is if the township would follow a policy of not accepting new streets for dedication, the impact of these combined is that every development's going to have an HOA. So that's something to just be aware of. That's the consequence of how those sections interact. If the policy is the township's not going to accept dedication of new roads, for example. So something to think about. Now, the alley one, that's unlikely to occur in this sort of situation.
Yeah.
So really, it gets down to if the next property over Florida Springs gets developed and there's roads in there, are you going to take them or not? If you're not going to take them, you might need an HOA. If you're going to take them, you might not need an HOA. If say, you know what, that's going to have some private, we're not taking them, we're going to have an HOA. And so that's sort of the impact. I want you to be aware of what the consequence would be. So maybe that's not an issue. I mean, that's there, but that's more of a just be aware. So.
Did we say we wouldn't take dedication of new streets? I'm struggling with the underlying predicate here. I know we had a position on private roads.
Not in here.
Okay.
That is usually a policy decision by the elected body.
Yeah.
There are some municipalities that in the county that simply say we are not accepting another road.
Yeah.
Period. There's others that are, whatever. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
It's proposed, it's a public street, we're taking it.
Okay.
You know, it's not, like I said, it's not a issue they say you have to address. Just keep in mind that if you implement that policy.
If we don't do that, then.
What's the county stand, hypothetical, if you put in a development and you say, or the developer says, these are gonna be private streets? I mean,
We can't force someone to
Yeah.
dedicate streets to you, to the township.
Yeah. The planning code says they can offer for, planning doesn't require the township to take this, must be offered for dedication.
okay.
So it's developer can offer, they can say it's private if they want, but they can offer it, but you're not, municipality's not required to take it.
Okay.
So, some don't take it for, they don't want the maintenance cost and responsibility.
They just don't want it, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. If you're asking for what our position is, we would have generally supported, again, we're not taking the financial side of it
Yeah.
out of the fact. If it's a road accessing, it's regular development, it's tend to be public streets, then they should be publicly owned. If it's private streets, what's the difference between a then it's the lake.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, does that mean that the HOA can gate the streets in there? You know, if it's private, you know, that gets, it's there. You know, so if you're not gonna gate them, then they should be public. You know, but again, that's not considering the financial implications of that possession.
Assuming the maintenance and
Right.
everything.
But we also don't support the design technique of putting stormwater infrastructure on private property. You know, that there's things that are serving the broader community should be the responsibility of the community, not individual property owners.
Well, now, the big development there along 15, is that a gate? Is it gated?
No,
It isn't?
no.
You're talking about Amble.
You go ahead, drive
Yeah,
around.
yeah.
But
You should drive back there.
No, I've never.
Oh, you should.
Let's stay on top of it.
I don't know, I would assume they have, but I don't know for certain. That's a good example of
That's
a municipality where this issue comes
Because
up.
if whoever, I mean, is it private now?
I don't think so. I'm not, it's
Well, then
not
whoever, the
gated.
township or
It's
whatever
not gated.
will,
It's
I
not
guess
gated.
they'll assume maintenance and all that when it's finished?
I don't know,
Okay.
because that over the lifespan of that project, there's been different policy positions depending on who's holding the office and who the solicitor is.
You would have thought that something that size and scope, that would have been,
I suspect it has, it's just, we
you just
don't
okay,
know what the
okay.
final solution was.
because something that massive, you would think would have to be something in writing.
I'm pretty sure there is, I just don't know what it is,
Yeah.
but that's a good example. Let's say they were saying, no, we're not taking that.
Yeah.
You know, that's on you. Well, they have an HOA to operate all the
Yeah,
stuff in
well,
there.
then-
Does that mean they could put a gate up on the front there and say, nope, only people with
Yeah.
permission
okay.
can get through? And is that something you would want for
However many people.
X,
yeah.
many people it might be? You know, I'll take the lake, for example. There's a fire company in Lake Mead. There's not in Amblebrook. You know, if you're gating it and there's no services inside,
Yeah.
you know.
Sort of like the governor's mansion, they had to tear down the security gates to get the fire trucks
Right.
in.
So, like I said, the ability to do whatever policy you see fit, and just keep in mind what the consequences of those policies are.
Okay.
Is what they're raising.
Right.
The next one, 5030, is at the bottom of page 45. This is there is an issue about sidewalks where they might be required. One of the, and what they're pointing out, supposed to pointing out is oftentimes, and I'll pick on the area over there on 194, outside of East Berlin, went down to where Nell's grocery store is, there's Nell's, Cashman's, Dollar General, etc. There's not sidewalks.
Hampton Field, right? Is that Hampton Fields? Is that?
Yeah.
No, this is over on East Berlin.
Oh,
South East Berlin.
oh, I'm with you, okay.
There's no sidewalks.
There's no sidewalks.
Yeah.
The township has regretted that policy decision for years.
There's sidewalks connected, there's no
Right.
sidewalks from the borough from right before the car wash out.
Right. Well, actually, no. Let's go over to Hampton, 194, because that's a better, an even better example. You have the village of Hampton, then you have the residential development that's off on the east side, if you're on the side. Then you have Rudders and Dollar General. This residential project came in, they had a requirement, require sidewalks. Policy discussion, do we want to waive that requirement? The developer asked to waive it. They ultimately did, and many years down the road, they had a big to-do about some rezoning. After Dollar General was in, and somebody got up as they were leaving and said, "Why didn't you guys require sidewalks for that?" And he said, "Oh, well, this is why." They left, and I looked at him and said, I warned you when you denied that that was going to be asked for down the road. So they waived it completely. But let's say they had said, we're not going to require it now, but it's a condition of the plan, and you have, when we tell you it's time, you have to install it. So that's really what they're raising here, is that could be an option. Do you want to codify that in there? We know that's a reasonable request, because when do you get something started?
Yep.
And again, this might not necessarily
It
apply.
may never happen, but
here.
if it does,
Yeah,
you
right.
have legal grounds to stand
Right.
on.
The challenge with that policy is we are not aware of any situations where it's actually been followed. Where they've actually followed through and told you have to install it there. So it ends up being an end run around the requirement without saying no.
It's a
So,
moot point, I think.
Yeah, but so it's
For years down in York County, and I think it's West Manheim, they required a note on the plans that, to call the supervisors, sidewalks and curbs can be installed within, I don't know, it's like 90 days or 180 days or something like that. And then they let those plans go through. I never saw any of those be pulled. I say pulled, they pulled to finish.
There was a requirement on the approved land development plan for Gettysburg High School that required a sidewalk to be extended from the road to the front door once the trail connected out there. It connected out there, and they have not. That's been 15 years at this point, and they still have not. We're going almost 30 years back for that condition, and it still has not been met.
It's hard to do.
Yeah. But I think the way that it's laid out here is probably the best outcome.
I mean, he does say you could add something in there formally, or you could just treat it as a condition of approval or as part of a developer's agreement if it's a significant enough development. So there's other avenues to do it if you don't want to formally put it in here. We are of the opinion that you just handle it on a case-by-case basis, because there's some instances where that does make sense to delay it. There's other instances where, no, you need to, it's important, you need to do it now.
Yeah, because it'll never get done.
Right. So, and again, I struggle to think of a place in the township where that might apply.
Wasn't that an issue when they put the Tractor Supply in off of 30? I remember reading in the paper about that.
And what's the
I mean, there was nothing to connect it to at the time.
Well, and Strand's a great example of the Route 30 corridor. You see there's bits and pieces of the sidewalk in there. They have an adopted ordinance.
Okay.
They have a map that shows a mandatory sidewalk area and an optional sidewalk area. In the mandatory area, you must install it. There are no questions. You don't even ask. You have to put it there. In the optional ones, it's the other thing they have, but they've added some language in there, but that is very strict. About you have to show it on the plan. You have to design the plan to show it. You don't have to build it.
Until we
But,
say.
but it's formalized that you will do it. You don't have an option once we tell you. They've gone another step
Yeah.
there because they got sick and tired of
Good.
having this discussion and they get a lot of plans.
I remember it because, people were saying, well, there's nothing to connect it to. At that time, there was nothing else back here. Now you have the Royal Farms.
Now you start as things start to build out and it's
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's that. 511 B, I didn't mark this one. That is on
They want to utilize
Page
the
54.
existing screening. I would have thought they could. I
have no issues with that. I can put it in here. We can put it in the zoning. We can do both. I have no issues with that. That's just some simple language. It makes sense to include there. The last one is 609. That's on page 69. This one has to do with the dedication of lands for recreation. The solicitor's question was, is this for recreation or open space? It's for open space, for recreation component. The question is, you don't have a formal recreation plan that for the fee in lieu of and all that sort of thing. So the question I pose back to them is, well, what can we be enforced given that? You don't get a ton of development that would apply to in the first fee in lieu and apply to in the first place. So, doing a rec plan to formally do that doesn't make a whole lot of sense because we can certainly do it. It can take more time and effort and cost than you'll get back for it. So the question there is what can be enforced there legally given that. So we'll see what they have to say. That might need to be changed, put pared back, removed, something like that, but not certain yet. It's going to depend on what their feedback is.
Developers don't like giving money to a rec fee and then finding out it's applied somewhere else.
Well, the rec fees law has changed.
Yeah.
It can now go for land or fees or combination thereof are to be used only for the purpose of providing, acquiring, operating, or maintaining park or recreation facilities reasonably accessible to develop. It used to just the operating and maintaining part was not there at one point. That was added most recently. I say recently within maybe the past 15 years. So theoretically, it could go towards operating expenses of a municipal park. The other question here is, if you don't have a municipal park, can it go to other facilities? The code doesn't say public versus private. Case law might. So I posed some questions back to the solicitor to clarify this. So we might have, in the end, we might have to decide, well, it's not workable here. That might need to come out.
Okay.
There. If it stays in, we have to fashion it in a version that their solicitor is comfortable with in the chance that it gets enforced.
Rec areas, which are down, who knows, but impact fee might be more appropriate.
Well, there's a plan that has to be done to formally charge that.
Right. And you have to be able to designate where you're going to use that money.
Right. Now I did one, and they designated it for Reading Township. They designated it, I think, for the EBAC and the Township Park there in Hampton. So,
I think Oxford down there, I think I'm correct, those developments down there on 94, they contribute a big chunk of change. But they're developing that park there back in the township.
yeah,
It's beneficial to them,
right. Yeah.
but it has to go right to that
Yes.
use.
Yep. Yep. That's, in terms of what the solicitors brought back, it's not a ton there, and so should be pretty easy to work out there. There were a few other minor changes that we edited back and forth there. The other thing related to that I wanted to bring up, and Scott and I want to discuss this offline a little bit. There's a part in there about road classifications, and there's also the street index that we need the township to review. It's not difficult, but you need to sit down, decide who to do it. The suggestion that Scott had was sort of the planning commission and you two, the roadmaster, Chuck, and the supervisor, maybe Dave or something like that. We it shouldn't take all that long to sit down and go through the roads and make sure that the records we have at the county are correct, and then classify the roads. I mean, it's fairly straightforward. I've already have something to react to, but it's how time and place to do that. So do it here, or can do it. If you guys want to meet some here, I do it another time. I'm more than happy to do whatever you feel, and if you'd like, I can reach out directly to. Yeah, it's up to you, but that's something we'll need to.
Does that have to be a public meeting? Do you have to announce that?
You're just classifying the roads in the township.
I mean, what I'm looking for is to make sure that the master street index.
It's just for review and discussion, there won't be any decisions made.
Well, I'm fine
To make sure that what we have is correct.
Right.
I mean, it's going to come, the eventual thing is going to come back here for a recommendation from you to supervisors. What we're recommending is that it be amended into the Chapter 21, the Streets and Sidewalks Ordinance there. It was originally going to be, talking about an appendix to the Saldo, but as we've just done this in other municipalities, we've realized that it's more efficient to put it in the Streets and Sidewalks Ordinance, because these things can change more frequently than anything else, and it's easier to adjust that in that ordinance than it is in the Saldo, because this has a much more difficult amendment process than your other code, which just follows township code amendments. So, if you guys are comfortable with that, I can reach out to you guys and we can schedule. Although I don't have a contact for Chuck, so
That's all right, we can take care of it.
Yeah, Scott and him.
okay.
Okay.
Then I'll reach out to I'll cut Scott in, and then
Okay.
we'll go from there. So that's all that I have for this. I've been waiting to get to direction on this, starting on the zoning until this was far enough along that we can.
Well,
everyone's comfortable
I'm
with that
pleased
starting.
that that's all the comments we have. They
Yeah.
seem very addressable.
It's okay.
Is this up for action? Do we need to approve the changes?
At this point, I think we need to hear back from what Todd's comments are on what's sent there.
Because you're still waiting to hear back.
Yeah, and there'll be some text that'll be added, and then go back from there. If he wants that to go back through here, I mean, we'll take some direction from him.
Yeah,
on that.
great. Okay, thanks, Aaron.
Thanks for your hard work.
No other new businesses, or Scott?
That is all we had on the agenda, except for public comments.
Okay, I'll take public comments. Maria?
Yeah, quick question. What currently for EV mulch Old Harrisburg Road, what is the present zoning classification for that property?
Commercial is
It's in the commercial.
Commercial.
I think it's the CI district.
CI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
commercial industrial.
So, blue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other? No? Not hearing anybody else.
Let me ask.
Oh,
I keep hearing regarding E and B, there's comments somewhere that we haven't discussed, and I'm just curious as where they're coming from.
Me, I do the review for conformance to zoning and subdivision land development. I prepare the letter and I give it to the township. It's public record. If you want to look at it, you're welcome to come into the office here and look at it.
And then whenever it goes to the county, they issue comments on the plan as well. And that's through the county conservation district.
Planning.
Planning.
Office
And
of
planning too,
Planning.
yes.
By coming in here, you can see all those comments or just yours?
Yeah, the county comments.
Well,
are
they're all
there.
public, they're all public, you can see them all.
Yeah.
Just let me know ahead of time and I'll make sure Pat has it ready for you.
Andy has a copy.